The future of church planting, organic, multiplying, Holy Spirit-led movements. Worldwide. Have you ever noticed how nature never stops growing? Seeds become plants, plants multiply, and entire forests come alive. That's exactly how God designed His church to grow, not through artificial control or dependence on systems, but through organic, Spirit-led multiplication. Unfortunately, many of today's churches have become consumer-driven rather than mission-driven. Congregants often attend services to receive rather than to contribute. The church was never meant to be a spiritual marketplace, but a living movement. Every believer is called to be a participant, not a spectator, a missionary, not merely a member. True church planting begins when we rediscover this truth. Every disciple of Jesus carries within them the potential to reproduce life. The future of the church depends on our ability to release that potential, to raise disciples who make disciples, leaders who raise leaders, and churches that plant churches. Preparing the ground. Before any seed grows, the soil must be prepared. In church planting, that means preparing the hearts and ground of communities before establishing new gatherings. Too often, church planters rush to start services without first understanding the context or building authentic relationships. The church is called not to impose, but to incarnate, to live among, listen to, and love people until Christ is formed in them. This is where many efforts fail. We try to plant without plowing. But when the soil is cultivated through prayer, presence, and compassion, the seed of the gospel produces lasting fruit. Healthy church planting requires humility to listen, courage to serve, and faith to sow where others see no potential. It's not about speed, it's about depth and sustainability. Embracing kingdom diversity. God's kingdom thrives on diversity. In nature, every plant and creature contributes to the health of the ecosystem. In the same way, the global church must celebrate cultural, linguistic, and spiritual diversity. Many modern church models unintentionally produce clones instead of communities. We copy and paste styles, music, and structures from other nations or denominations instead of drawing out the unique expression of Christ in each culture. But the kingdom is not about uniformity. It's about unity in diversity. A strong church planting movement is inclusive, empowering, and collaborative. Every believer, every gift, and every community has a vital role in revealing God's beauty to the world. Multiplication through healthy discipleship. Just as healthy plants reproduce naturally, healthy disciples naturally make other disciples. Unfortunately, many churches focus more on gathering crowds than on growing people. The result is often spiritual dependency rather than spiritual maturity. The solution lies in returning to Holy Spirit-led disciple-making. When people encounter Jesus deeply, they carry Him everywhere they go. When disciples mature, they reproduce. When churches focus on transformation rather than attendance, multiplication becomes inevitable. This kind of growth is not forced. It flows naturally when believers are empowered, trained, and released. True multiplication happens when the Holy Spirit, not human effort, drives the mission. Moving beyond broken systems. For decades, many ministries have tried to fix failing church systems instead of planting fresh, spirit-filled communities. But you cannot repair what God intends to replace with new life. Institutional models often focus on buildings, budgets, and brands, while the New Testament church focused on people, presence, and power. The future of church planting requires us to shift from maintenance to mission, from managing programs to mobilizing disciples. Transformation comes not from reformation of old systems, but from regeneration by the Holy Spirit. We must be bold enough to let go of what no longer bears fruit and to embrace the new things God is doing. Building self-sustaining church networks. Beneath every thriving forest lies a hidden network of roots connecting and strengthening each tree. Likewise, healthy church movements grow through relational connections and mutual dependence on the Holy Spirit. When we empower local leaders, equip them to disciple others, and release them to lead in their own contexts, we create self-sustaining networks that last for generations. The role of the coach or planter is not to control, but to catalyze, to equip others to carry the vision further than we ever could. The future church will not be sustained by funding or central systems, but by faith, local ownership, and obedience to the Spirit of God, fulfilling the Great Commission. Together, Jesus said, "Go and make disciples of all nations." Matthew 28:18-20. This is not an optional instruction. It's the heartbeat of our faith. When every believer becomes a disciple maker and every church becomes a sending church, the world will be filled with the knowledge of God's glory. The Great Commission is not a project. It's a movement of life. It is time for the global church to awaken, rise, and multiply. This is how communities are transformed, nations are reached, and the world experiences the living Christ. Problems. This teaching addresses 1. Consumer Christianity, believers who only receive without contributing to the mission. Solution. Equip every believer as a disciple maker and kingdom ambassador. 2. Dependency on structures and systems, churches built on programs instead of people. Solution. Foster spirit-led, community-based growth that's relational, not institutional. 3. Lack of contextual understanding, copying external models that don't fit local contexts and realities. Solution. Train planters to listen, learn, and love before leading. 4. Leadership bottlenecks, overdependence on a few instead of empowering many. Solution. Develop local leaders who multiply leaders through mentoring and coaching. 5. Stagnant or declining churches, little or no reproduction. Solution. Prioritize organic multiplication over organizational maintenance. A call to action. The future belongs to churches that are alive, multiplying, and led by the Spirit. Let us move from being consumers to contributors, from attendees to ambassadors, and from comfort to commission. We are not called to build monuments. We are called to birth movements. Together we can ignite a global wave of transformation that fills the earth with the glory of God. About Victor Muhumuza. Victor Muhumuza is a certified and seasoned church planting coach and church guide, passionate about helping leaders, ministries, and churches grow healthy, multiplying, self-sustainable, and spirit-led movements worldwide. He offers personalized coaching sessions, both online and face-to-face, to equip pastors, planters, and mission teams in practical, biblical, and strategic church planting principles that bring lasting transformation. For coaching sessions and consultations, email victormuhumuza@ministries@gmail.com. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to Victor Muhumuza Ministries@gmail.com. Igniting faith, power, and purpose worldwide.